Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Dead or Alive. I'm so happy when Dead or Alive, when any of my game shows has a prize that's this good. The Outlaw Music Festival coming to Dos Equis Pavilion on July 5th. Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan. I don't know who the Yvette brothers are. There's also going to be a couple other openers. Tickets and information at livenation.com. But Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan together? Like if I'd have told you this 10 years ago that Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan would still be around doing concerts in 10 years, you wouldn't have believed me. This is probably this may be your last chance to see either one of these dudes. Probably your only chance to see them together. But if you want to play 800-288-9227, it's time for Dead or Alive. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. I'm your host, James Parker. Barbara in Grand Prairie. That sounds familiar. Did you already play?
A long time ago.
Did you win?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as you haven't won in the last 90 days, you're still eligible. And that's
No, I haven't.
Okay.
And I'm so excited about this prize.
Well, you should be, because I'm kind of excited about this prize.
Yeah. Hopefully
All right.
they're not on your list, though.
Barbara, you don't have to tell me your age, but were you, coherent and watching television in the 70s?
Yes.
Okay. Well, today's edition is the 70s TV edition. Oh, does that get you a little excited?
I'm very excited.
All of these people are actors from the top 12. I didn't do the top 10 because a couple of them stunk. The top 12 TV shows of the 1970s. Starting off with, Barbara, Loretta Swit. The rest of us know her as Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH. Is Hot Lips Houlihan dead or alive?
She's dead.
Barbara, damn it, you didn't even make it through the first one?
Oh, my God. I thought she just died.
Oh, you thought she died? Well, then, she said she died. Well, no, she's alive.
Oh, my God. Do I get to be on hold?
Yeah, well, I'll put you on hold. But that means we got to have 1, 2, 3, 4 people miss one before it rotates back. Hang on, but we'll see if it happens. It's not looking too good for Barbara, is it? Dane in Dallas. This isn't my cousin Dane, is it?
No, I spell my name with a Y.
Okay.
Not your cousin.
Well, you're lucky you're not my cousin. You're probably doing better than him. We're on Dead or Alive, 70s edition. Carol Burnett. Is she dead or alive?
He is dead.
Damn it, y'all. Do y'all not want these tickets?
What?
You don't like Willie Nelson, Dane? Why don't you take that Y out of your name? I'm going to put you on hold. Terrible start. Tyler in Burleson, you're on Dead or Alive. You ready?
I'm ready.
That's what the other two people said. Are you familiar with 70s TV?
I am.
Okay, good.
Watch the reruns.
Good. Number 3, Henry Winkler. He's the Fonz or the coach from Waterboy, whatever you want. Is he dead or alive? Hey.
He's alive.
Yes, he is alive. All right, we can get one. From the classic TV show WKRP, we know him as Johnny Fever. His real name's Howard Hessman. Is he dead or alive?
I'm sorry, what? One more time?
Howard Hessman, dead or alive?
He is... He's dead. I think, yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, he passed away in 2022. Just want to make you sit there for a second. The next one. His real name is Damon Wilson. You know him as Lamont Sanford from Sanford and Sons. He was the son on Sanford and Son. Is he dead or alive?
I think he has passed away.
No, he's alive, 78 years old. No one wants Willie Nelson tickets. Did no one watch TV in the 70s? I kind of like it when y'all fail this bad. This is kind of cracking me up. Justin in Azle, you're on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Man, pressure's on.
Well, we've only got one correct answer so far, and we're on number 6. Lee Majors. He was the $6 million man for you people in the 70s. For me in the 80s, he was the fall guy. But is he dead or alive?
He is dead.
Are y'all messing with me? Is this a joke? Did you put him up to this? Garrett, did you? You didn't do anything, did you? He's still alive. He's 85 years old. I hadn't seen him in a while. All right, well, we're almost back around to Barbara. She's over there just laughing her butt off, I bet. All right, Eric in Dallas. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's try this. We all know him as Oscar from The Odd Couple. The actor's name is Jack Klugman. Is Jack Klugman dead or alive?
He is dead.
Yeah, he died in 2012. Bob Newhart from like 4 different shows. Yeah, he is. Died last year. Barney Miller, real name is Hal Linden. Is that actor dead or alive?
Dead as a doornail.
Oh, I love the confidence, but he's 93 years old and he's still with us. Eric.
What?
Yeah.
My mother called me yesterday and said he died.
Barney Miller. I Googled it today. He's alive. He's 93 years old. Do you think I knew Barney Miller's real name?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for playing, Eric. I appreciate it. Look at what we just did. Hey, Barbara.
Hi.
All right. We're on number 10. So all you have to do is get one correct, and you get the Willie Nelson / Bob Dylan tickets for Dead or Alive. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Do you recognize the actress name Pernell Roberts? Okay. I'll tell you who he was. He was Adam Cartwright, one of the younger sons in Bonanza. Not Hoss and not Michael Landon, the other one. Pernell Roberts, Adam Cartwright from Bonanza. Dead or alive?
Dead.
Ooh, there you go. It happened. Magic can happen on Dead or Alive. All right, Barbara. All right. Well, we know what you're doing for 4th of July weekend. You got 2 tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival 2025, Dos Equis Pavilion, July 5th. Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, a few other people. Congratulations, Barbara. Persistence paid off on that one.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for playing. That's fantastic. This has been Dead or Alive. All right, don't hang up, Barbara. Garrett will get your information. We email you tickets these days because, we're living pretty much the Jetsons so far. Man, if I had more time, I would love to tell you about this article I saw on TexasScorecard.com. You might want to go check it out. 160 teachers are under investigation for cheating on the certification exam. And this is something that comes up when I'm just generally speaking, I'm against licensing, government licensing, not private sector licensing. And this is one of the reasons. It's like, well, if we don't have a licensing board, how will we know if teachers were really qualified to get in there? They need to have a license. Well, 160 people got around it by cheating on your exam. So it didn't really prevent bad teachers from getting jobs now, did it? It's sort of the same argument I have against like teaching to the STAR test, like all the kiddos in Texas public schools, they all have this standardized test they got to teach to at the end of the year. And I say, why do we need that? We have the SAT, we have the ACT, we already have a private sector version of a way to score kids' aptitude. And if I don't know, I'm just kind of out of time. I'd really go into it. Too bad I don't have more time. That's what the podcast is for. So check that out after the show. I'm going to get out of here and go put it up for you. Dierks Bentley is coming to Dos Equis Pavilion May 30th, and it's his Broken Branches tour. So if you want to try and win tickets from us, text the word broken to 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Text the word broken. Maybe you can win a pair of tickets from us. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. Mark Levin next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest coming back on from USA for All. It's an immigration firm, Renata Castro. Welcome back to The James Show. We have some immigration news today. About an hour and a half before The James Show started, I saw the report that a federal judge had blocked immigration agents from conducting enforcement operations in church. Renata?
That is correct. This decision just came out, and it doesn't surprise me that the right to exercise religion would be a much stronger argument than that of immigration enforcement in churches, and outweighing the benefits and disadvantages of having ICE just conduct their raids in churches. So this is a first position. It's a first stance. It doesn't mean that ICE is completely prohibited. It's just an injunction. However, I think it is safe to say that the Supreme Court will likely side with this judge, saying that the right to exercise religion outweighs the government interest in conducting raids at churches. Now, one concern that as a practicing attorney I have received from religious leaders is that even if ICE cannot go to the churches, will they retaliate now and, set up checkpoints on the way to big immigrant places of worship? However, this is a small but meaningful victory for immigrant communities and religious institutions everywhere in the United States today.
Well, I am under the belief that you should be able to arrest someone even during a church service because it's a felony. So, yeah, you have your freedom of religion, but you also committed this crime, so you still need to be held accountable for it.
I think that you have to balance the equities, and I hope that we can understand that it's not that an individual who is a criminal attending church shouldn't be arrested, but you also don't want individuals who have an interest in maybe even attending church and as a way of, church attendance or religious integration, changing their criminal ways, if you will, being far outweighed from the fear. There are other ways that ICE can conduct these enforcement activities without creating panic and chaos in religious institutions and just creating a chilling effect for those who are interested in engaging in religious expression. So I think it's important to say that this doesn't mean that just because an individual committed a crime and they go to church, they shouldn't be detained. It's just the way that this is done and the trauma that it creates for those that are around that person and even the security concerns for a church as well. So I think that in balancing the equities, this is what that judge this is why this judge came to this conclusion. And as I said, from a legal standpoint, I can see the Supreme Court siding with this judge. However, I think this is going to be a very busy year when it comes to immigration policy being designed by Supreme Court decisions. And I think everything is possible at this time in the United States and with the Supreme Court that we have today.
Well, the church one is the one I'm most sympathetic to, but it doesn't stop there. They also don't want there to be immigration arrests and raids at hospitals and schools. Now, if you start adding all this up, then now we're pretty much getting to, hospitals, schools, and churches. Sounds like they just don't want illegal immigrants to get arrested. How do you talk me out of that stance?
Well, I can see why you would think that this is just an overall ploy to not detain undocumented aliens. However, imagine one of our family members being in a hospital and being treated, and then there's this major ICE operation detaining someone who is without status and most likely someone who hasn't committed a serious crime. I'm not saying no violation, but a serious crime. And just having the overall place of healing be disturbed by that action. As I said, there are ways to conduct it, and it doesn't mean that hospitals and schools won't be able to collaborate with ICE. It's just where the raids are going to take place, and most importantly, how these raids would actually impact the everyday lives of U.S. citizens. Do we really want our doctors and nurses who are already overburdened, overwhelmed with people between life and death having to be in the business of reporting undocumented aliens? And what if someone does not have proof of their legal status as they suffer an accident? Would we want to jeopardize the life of that American citizen because they don't look what we expect an American to look? So once again, it's not about not enforcing the laws. It's about how you go about enforcing these laws. So, for example, police officers all over the United States are trained to conduct chases in a way that does not put the lives of others at risk. So this would be the same concept.
Where is a good place for illegals to get arrested?
Well, I hope undocumented aliens find a way into lawful status before they get detained. But the government has other assets and other resources, for example, airports. With facial recognition, I actually anticipate a lot more undocumented aliens who engage in domestic travel being detained. And I think that in an airport, there's just more of a security layout for you to conduct these activities without putting other people at risk.
You're not worried about the chilling effect it would have on legal Americans as they're just trying to travel from point A to point B?
I don't think so. I think that in an airport, airports are one of the most secure places in the United States. You have facial recognition, you have TSA, you have ICE, you have local law enforcement, you have access to every imaginable criminal check database you could have in the United States. I think that they would have their hands full just handling one day of travel alone. I think that immigrants are already apprehensive about traveling in the United States. I don't see Americans being apprehensive about traveling if undocumented aliens were to be detained in domestic travel. I don't think that that's a concern. But I personally would not want my child coming home reporting to me how her friend was detained during class in 5th grade, because that's what an ICE raid at a local school would look like.
Yeah, that doesn't break my heart, but I'm not the only person with the only opinion out there. Renata Castro, you can find her at USA for All. That's the number 4, USA for All. And she has a firm that takes care of all your immigration questions. Thank you very much, Renata.
Thanks for having me.
That's an interesting question, because I'm in the background, I've been asking, what are the 5 things you've done at work last week? And I've gotten some great emails that I'm going to read in the next segment. But I just kind of thinking about what Renata just said. Would that bother you if your daughter came home and, like, I have a daughter that's in 4th grade. If she said one of her friends got deported or taken away from school, I don't think that would really bother me. Would that bother you? Am I just cold? You know, because I'm a guy that doesn't have the full set of human emotions developed yet. I'm a little immature. I can admit that. My wife points out some of my shortcomings in empathy. So I don't know about that. Does that bother you if one of your kids' classmates got arrested in class for being illegal? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Because I'm okay with it, but Renata said it and she sounded kind of convincing, like that would be a big problem. Uh-oh, would it? Anyway, we'll talk about that next, and some of your great emails already on the 5 things you did at work last week. It's The James Show. I'm James Parker. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Got a lot coming up this week. Wednesday is the Brian Kilmeade event that's being put on by our sister station, KLIF. So Brian Kilmeade from Fox and Friends, he does the show at 9 in the morning on KLIF, and he's going to be at Community Beer, Commonwealth and 35. It's in Dallas, and it's from 6 to 8. There's going to be a little presentation, and I don't know who the guest's going to be. I think that's Brian's thing, because when we showed up there last year, I didn't know Daryl Johnston was going to be there. That's right, the Moose from the old Cowboys legend. And apparently he's a big fan of Brian Kilmeade, and they know each other, and they're buddies, and that was cool, because then you got to see Brian Kilmeade chat with his buddy Daryl Johnston, and that was a couple hours that flew by. Felt like 20 minutes. And then he stood up, and we passed the microphone around the crowd and took questions, and he answered them. And then even after the event officially was over, we just hung out at the bar, and people came up to him and asked him questions, said, hey, we love you on Fox News, or whatever happened to so-and-so, or I've been listening to you since whenever, or I didn't even know you were on KLIF until last week. So it's a good time. Come on out. That's Wednesday. Now, Thursday, there's a couple events. My friends at the American Jewish Conservatives are having a social. The Republican Party of Dallas County is having it's like a Meet the Candidates event, but I don't think it's called that. There's a bunch of judges. Anyway, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West will be out there. Sarah Gonzalez from The Blaze will be out there Thursday. And then Friday, the Tarrant County Republicans are having their own event too. And we'll talk with Beau French from his organization coming up later in the week. And, you know, Democrat parties, I'll be happy to pump your events too. If you're having to meet the candidates, there's probably 30% of my audience that's more sympathetic to Team Blue. Don't think just because I don't vote with you on a regular basis that I'm not happy to promote your events. I'm here to serve the whole community. I just don't hear as much from Team Blue. All right, my next guest is a returning guest. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch is back on The James Show. And she handles immigration here in Texas, immigration law. And we had the ruling from the judge earlier today blocking the new Trump policy about ICE raids in churches. Details.
Ready?
Ready, go. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially we had a memo, sensitive locations memo in place that said that ICE could not conduct enforcement actions in places like churches, schools, hospitals, or domestic violence shelters, for example. I haven't read the judge's order. If that just came down today, that's good news. If it said that the revocation of the safe locations was enjoined, which means essentially we go back to ICE not conducting actions in those locations. I will share that this was very, jurisdiction specific. Some locations, there were reports of ICE going into schools and questioning children and going to domestic violence shelters and, doing activities like that. And then some locations that was not occurring. So it was really sort of a wide variety of what we were seeing out there across the United States.
So when I had mentioned it earlier on the show, Kate, I got a Facebook message where someone said, look, what if the guy in church worshiping is an American citizen who just robbed a bank and killed a cop? Can the cop still go in after him if he's in a church?
Yeah, this was as it pertained to ICE, to immigration enforcement actions. So this was saying that ICE can't go in to do raids, for example, in a hospital facility or in a school facility.
Well, I think he's trying to point out the double standard. Like, why can't we go after some criminals in a church setting, but not people who are broken felonies of immigration status?
Well, I mean, because, an ICE enforcement is typically going after someone who has committed a civil infraction. It's not someone who has a felony, record, or they're not sort of a fugitive of justice in the same sense as someone who's committed a bank robbery, for example, or going into a safe location with a gun. So just different situations.
All right. What else is new under the Trump administration? We've now had a whole month. We were expecting some big changes to immigration. Is there anything that's going under the headlines that we missed?
Well, no. I mean, it's been kind of hard to keep up with everything that's happening, but the basics of what has occurred is that we sort of hit the fast forward button and got back to where we were at the end of the first Trump administration in terms of closing down the border to asylum seekers, shutting down the CBP One app, closing down refugee processing. There's some rumors of, going after students and slowing down visas, and then the interior enforcement actions. We're starting to see some of the overreaching memos and policies get enjoined, like, for example, the birthright citizenship memo where Trump was trying to change the 14th Amendment to the Constitution through executive order. And that has been enjoined by the federal court. So we're now far enough along into the administration that they came out of the gate, like one of those bulls at the rodeo. And now the courts are starting to, slowly step in and issue temporary injunctions in a lot of these policies. So the dust has settled just a little bit at this moment. And I think what remains to be seen is how the administration is going to respond to court orders.
Well, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, as an immigration attorney, have you seen any unintended consequences negatively affecting legal immigrants? Oh,
certainly. For the most part, it's the sentiment of the people that I know. It's up to everyone who was, born first generation immigrant, or they're a naturalized citizen, or they have a green card. There's just all people of all sort of levels of legal status have been terrified. I've been getting questions from people, on all levels. But yes, of course, there are people who have green cards who have been apprehended, Puerto Rican, citizens who have been picked up, other people who have legal status who have been picked up and deported. So a lot of that has been going on, certainly, through the last several weeks.
All right. If someone needs help, where can they find you?
Speakers is to look me up under my last name, Lincoln, like the president, Goldfinch, like the bird. In Spanish, it's better to look up Abogada Kate.
Abogada Kate, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Advocate Kate. It's a literal translation. That's just their word for lawyer. All right, coming up on the James Show. Okay, well, maybe I don't have time to do any more of these emails, but I do like hearing the 5 things that you did last week. Keep sending those in. Maybe I can cram together another segment of that. But speaking of immigration, the U.S. Embassy says we have a travel advisory against kids going to Mexico for spring break. So I'm going to ask you, if your kid's 18, a senior, great grades, well-behaved kid, already accepted to college, grandparents offer to pay for his senior trip, he wants to go to Cancun, would you let him? Or does it change the answer if I say, would you let her? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Remember when you were in high school, when you were a senior, maybe you took a couple of trips in college. Remember how fun that was to go on a road trip with your friends? And there's no parents, like your parents aren't there. Your friends' parents aren't there. You're not meeting parents there. It's not a school trip with like a chaperone. It's not a sports trip with like a coach. It's just being treated like an adult. And you can go crazy and you go far away from home. You can do dumb things and It's almost expected. And then you can come home and you get back to normal and, get back to grinding and get back to work and the classes and the grades and whatever. But right now we have the Mexicans. And when I say that, don't get racist. I mean, like literally the Mexican government sounding the alarm for spring break tourists. The U.S. Embassy also issues a crucial travel advisory. And this is all ahead of spring break, but I'm not expected they're going to clean a whole lot of things up between spring break and this summer. So this could apply to a spring break trip. This could be a summer trip, but usually for spring break they expect 35,000 visitors from the United States. A lot of them younger kiddos, and they're not saying do not come here whatsoever. This is a no travel area, but they ratcheted up the category for travelers to exercise heightened caution. Yes, this is a heightened caution. Now, Mexico's safety situation is pretty much hinged on the cartels and thus the drug war, basically. And that's the primary cause. But there's a lot of people who make the argument, well, if this is all about drugs, then you just really have to worry about the parts of Mexico that are between Colombia and Hunter Biden's nose. And I don't mean just specifically him. I'm just talking about all the noses that are snorting up all the drugs or all the crack that people are smoking. It's between where the drugs are made and where the drugs are used for the most part. And so that middle part of Mexico, that's nothing but a conduit from Colombia to the parties up here in the United States. Yeah, they're having some big problems. But what about over in the Yucatan Peninsula, where they got like Cancun and they got Cozumel and like cruise ships go there? Are we not safe over there? And so I'm kind of getting to the point of my life. I haven't had to deal with this for my kids yet. My oldest kid is 14. So I'm probably going to have to be answering these questions here in about, 2 to 4 years or so. And so let me ask you, who've already gone through this, would you let your kids go on a vacation to Mexico without you? And it's so sad to have this conversation because when I was a little kid, my mom was born in Dallas, but she went to high school in El Paso, and so did my dad. And so we would go visit family out there, usually every summer. And you would go to the border and you could go across the bridge into Juarez. And some kids would try and sell you chiclets. You could get tacos for 25 cents a piece. I know it was the 80s. And it was kind of a cool thing. You go through the little markets, they have cheap piñatas and all kinds of toys and little, regular candies, but they have chamoy on them and stuff. And it was a normal thing. My grandfather's family's from Laredo. They used to go across the border all the time to Nuevo Laredo. Let's go to the Cadillac Cafe. It was a tradition. Well, now in adulthood, we don't go anymore. If I go visit family on the border in Laredo or El Paso, we never go across to Juarez. But on the other side, Miss Parker also has sort of a Mexican familial connection. Hi, Miss Parker. Where she has family that lives in Merida. That's down in the Yucatan Peninsula. It's a city of like 1 million people. And it's not like next to Cancun and Cozumel. It's probably like a 3-hour drive, but it's in the middle of that. They are not in the path between drug producers and drug users. They are not the heavily trafficked, narco-controlled trade routes, drug routes. And it's not nearly as bad there. That's one of the reasons Cozumel and Cancun and those Yucatan resorts, Progreso and whatnot, have escaped a lot of these problems. But okay, aside from the exception of if my kids are going to go stay with their cousins in Mexico, I don't think I would let them go, even to some place like Cancun or Cozumel. And it's not because I don't trust them. I don't trust what goes on there. Plus, their Spanish is terrible. Me and Miss Parker have done a terrible job teaching them. But I don't know. Would you let your kids? Have you let your kids go on trips like that? Because I have some other friends whose kids are old enough and they have let them go on trips. And I don't know. Like, I'm a pretty libertarian fellow and pretty open-minded and trusting of my kids. They've been pretty good so far. But I don't think I would, like if I had a college kid, 18, 19 years old, would I let the boys go? I doubt it. Here's the weird part. Would I let the girls go? I have 2 daughters as well. That answer is absolutely not. And I know that's not fair and you're treating them a little different, but female travelers have some additional concerns that male travelers don't have to worry about nearly as much. No one's ever roofing my drink, trying to get me to go back to their house. So what do you think about that? 800-288-9227. If you're a parent who's already been through this, I'm looking for your wisdom. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Anthony Russo is going to be on the James Show breaking down the latest on Doge. It's News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3.